And there are two aspects to mastering our emotions. One is the capacity to restrain unwanted feelings. To restrain unwanted feelings. And the other one is to engage desirable feelings. To be able to emote positively. Many of us say we want to be more compassionate. We want to be more loving. We want to be more forgiving. All these are emotions. But can we bring them forth at the right time? And so in mastery of anything, you should be able, mastery of any instrument means you should be able to use that instrument for whatever you desire and will. According to your will and desire, you should be able to engage that. Whether it means restraint, what we call deceleration, or engagement, acceleration. Just like driving a car, we should know how to apply acceleration and then apply the brake. Then only you are qualified to drive. Yeah? A master of that vehicle and in control of it. So, last week we were exploring some of the various emotions we go through. I said some because there are many. And we thought this is a very useful technique in order to measure our spiritual growth. And if you don't like the word spiritual, then it's called measuring your maturity. Just in order to measure our maturity in life, we can measure these 4 factors. And I'll share that screen. Those 4 factors, we're given an acronym. The acronym was GRAF. G-R-A-F. Just as in you graph something, it's to show your progress. And that graph here has got 2 aspects to it. It's got the negative aspect and it's got the positive aspect. So, the negative aspect, our negative emotions that we need to keep an eye on are 1, grievances. Grievances means feelings of being treated unjustly. Feelings of anger, feelings of resentment. So anger and resentment, grievances. Second one, regrets. Past actions and mistakes that we feel bad about, we wish we did not do. Regret. Third one, apathy. Apathy means laziness, procrastination, inability to get motivated to do something that you want to do. So putting things off. And fear. Fear, of course, is a very primal, is the most primal emotion, is fear. Yeah? And it has tremendous power over us. And it can paralyze us. It can dictate. Many of our actions and behaviors are in fact dictated by fear. Okay? Now, how do we overcome these things? Okay, we've mapped out these 4 and we've started noticing these are my grievances in life, these are my regrets in life, this is where I'm apathetic, and these are my fears. Now, how do I move out of that? Well, then there's a positive aspect to it, and the positive aspect is here. And each one of these is the antidote for the negative one. So to move out of grievance, we have to invoke gratitude. And last week we talked about gratitude, kritagnyata, acknowledging what others have done. Acknowledging what someone else has done for me. Now there's 2 levels to this, which we saw last week. That one is you just acknowledge a task which has been done. And that's the most superficial level of gratitude. But at a deeper level, you start acknowledging the effort, intention, attitude of that person, not just the job that was done. So not just the job that was done, you start acknowledging all these other aspects. And when you start acknowledging a person's effort, they feel extremely rewarded by that. It also kindles a very deep and genuine feeling of love towards that person. The reason why when you acknowledge merely tasks, it doesn't necessarily elicit such a strong feeling of love is because if I find a task easy to do and someone else does it, then I don't feel that they have put forth much effort. It was very simple, anyone could have done it, why I could do it, and therefore I don't think you've done much work for me. You haven't made much of a sacrifice for me. Why? Because I could do that. Yeah. Last week we gave the example of cooking. And a person who's good at cooking, they can put a meal together for 4 people. They might be able to do that in half an hour. And so for them, when they do that, for them, a meal for the family is half an hour's work. But for someone else who doesn't know how to cook, that could be 3 hours' work. And when we look at it from the task standpoint of view, we say, well, it takes half an hour to do. Why are you taking so long? How much do you sacrifice and serve this family? Oh, you cook 1 meal once a week? That's it? And therefore, we discount people's effort. And the person who's put forth that 3 hours of work painstakingly, in fact, some people start the planning process 1 week in advance. So at night, they're thinking what to cook. So it's Monday night, but they're already planning for Friday. And so sleepless nights are going on, thinking which vegetable to get, where do you get it from, which supermarket is open, what are the various combinations. If I'm cooking bindi, what goes with bindi? Can we do eggplant? Can we not do eggplant? Can we do aloo? But we had aloo yesterday. That's a big project going on. And someone finally just eats it and says, potato was not a bit hard today. Potato was a bit hard. I'll take that potato and throw it at you. Then we'll see which is harder, the potato or your head. And so that person feels very discredited at that time. You have not acknowledged the amount of effort I have put forth. And so when we start having gratitude for people's effort, all of a sudden that changes us and we realize, oh my God, this person has put so much effort, work into it. And when we realize the amount of work others have done for us, then a genuine feeling comes out. And that genuine feeling is actually this gratitude. When this feeling of gratitude comes, gratitude actually eliminates anger. It doesn't manage anger. I mentioned this last time. There are techniques to manage anger. Then there are techniques to eliminate anger. Gratitude eliminates anger. It eliminates resentment. And that's why even in relationships that have been there for a long period of time, we always develop resentment. It's always a level of anger and bitterness that comes in any long-term relationship. It's there. Whether it's spouses or whether it's family, parent and children. These are such long-term relationships. That's why a lot of resentments do develop in these relationships. And when you truly come to recognize the amount of effort that people have put forth, then actually you can give up these resentments. You need not live with them. Some people, they resign out of defeat. That I don't think we'll ever be able to. My father's like that, he's like that, he'll never change. He's always like that. We've always had a bad relationship. It's been like that. Since I was 15 years old, he said something, I didn't agree with it, this, that, we fought. And now, 50 years later, situation is the same. I can't get along with that man. People give up. People give up. We resign because we feel that some of these things can never be resolved. No. If you start acknowledging people's effort, then you'll find that this sincere gratitude that comes up can dislodge years of anger. Years of anger can be dislodged and eliminated. It's a very powerful emotion, okay? So gratitude, we said gratitude for what people have done, gratitude for their effort, and then gratitude for their intention. If you can recognize a person's intention, that they did this thinking of you, that makes a big difference. That's why there's a statement now, it's the thought that counts. Of course, some people are not just happy with the thought, they want more than that. But we generally say it's the thought that counts. What does that mean? It means I acknowledge that you had an intention or you were thinking of me. So a person has gone to the shops to buy something and say, oh, you know what? I know that you like these chips, so I bought these chips here. And this is your favorite flavor. So I bought them for you. Other person is more excited about the packet of chips than the fact that the person thought about them. And so they have already opened the packet of chips and are halfway through it with crumbs all over their mouth and down their thing and not offering a single chip to another person. Why? Because you bought it for me now, so why do you want any? You said you bought, if you wanted them, why didn't you buy a separate packet for yourself? Why now we're going to this sharing thing? And then a fight starts. Did you buy for me or yourself? Who did you buy for? And all of a sudden, this act of loving and giving has turned into a family feud in the kitchen. So who eats all the chips in the house? So, but really, if we stop and think that that person was doing another job, that person was doing another task, and they paused, they thought of me, I came to their mind, and in the midst of something completely random and different, they thought of me. And not only just they think of me, they then acted on it and gave me a gift. That's extremely meaningful. And if you really think about how what that means, it shows how much you mean to that person. And I think whenever we feel that, whenever we come to recognize how much I mean to this person, very strong feelings of love come. And in these strong feelings of love, then anger and bitterness is washed away. It's effortless. It's very easy. Okay? So this is how you overcome grievances, is by practicing a very deep and meaningful gratitude. Okay? Okay, now the next one we were looking at. R. R stands for regret. The negative emotion, regret. Now, how do we overcome regrets? Yeah? We said R stands for respect. Respect. And here when we're talking about respect, we're talking about self-respect. Yeah? Respect for oneself will help you overcome guilt. A stronger version of regret is called guilt. Yeah, stronger version. So initially when we do something wrong, we kind of regret it. And when we keep replaying it in our mind again and again and again, it eventually turns into guilt. So it's like when you initially lay the concrete is still a bit wet and soggy. Yeah. And then after some time, it solidifies. Regret, when it solidifies, eventually becomes guilt. Now all this, just like whatever you lay down with concrete, you can eventually rip up again. All this can be taken out. So even our regrets and our guilts, we can remove from our psyche. And how do we do that? We have to invoke a thing called self-respect. Now, what is respect? It was interesting. I was looking it up in the dictionary. I said, what is respect? And it said, admiration for a person's skills, abilities, and character. Admiration for a person's skills, abilities, and character. That's what respect is. Now, generally, we are giving respect to others, or we're always thinking of someone else. But now, how do we learn self-respect? That means respecting myself for my skills, my abilities, and my character. Yeah? Learning to admire myself. Okay? Now, we are not talking about developing this colossal ego and feeling of superiority. No. Please understand, when you're plagued with a lot of regrets, you generally have you're in a low self-esteem mode. Yeah? So whenever we're plagued by regret and guilt, we are in a low self-esteem mode. Therefore, arrogance does not come naturally to such a person. So here, I've got low self-esteem, and now what I have to do is bring it back to a normal, neutral level. So here, when we talk about self-respect and self-admiration, it's not about thinking I am the greatest person in the world. I am above and beyond all others. I already feel low and bad about myself. I'm trying to bring that back to neutral standpoint. Neutral standpoint. Okay? Now, what are the things we have to do? Now, if you look at it, it's admiration for skills, abilities, and character, which means we actually have to write these things down. What are my skills? What are my abilities? And what is my character? These things, it's very important to write down. A lot of people like to just do this in the misty parts of their head. And what they find is, yes, they'll acknowledge something. They're, oh yeah, you know what? Someone said that I'm quite good at, maths. And they throw two equations at me. I just immediately figure them out. So, okay, I've got a good mathematical. Some people said I'm very organized. Yeah, they said that. That's a nice thing. Some people say I'm good at technology. Some people say I'm very good at speaking. Yeah. Some people are very good at teaching. Yeah. Some people say I'm very friendly. Yeah. So what happens is we kind of hear these comments, but we don't write them down. And when you don't write them down, you know what it becomes? These comments, they become like what? Cross-ventilation. They kind of go in one ear and they just come out very fast. They don't sit with you. They don't sit with you. They don't sink into the depths of your psyche. And that's why writing these things down is very important, because when you write something down, it is staring at you directly in the face. It's now gone from what's called subtle matter, which is thought, into gross matter. It's taken form. And that's why it's very important to write these things down, because you need to give it form. You need to give it more weight. You need to make it more concrete. Okay? So just writing down my skills, abilities, and character. That's the first thing we can do, yeah? And don't relate all these things to career development. A lot of people have got, it's largely because we live now and are trained by our education to respect only career advancement. So whenever people think talents, they immediately think what they're good at from a career point of view, a vocational point of view. Yeah? But some people have got great gifts and talents, such as with music. Some people got a musical ear that they can just hear something and they can just play it actually. Some people are very attuned to other people's emotions. They have a high level of sensitivity towards other people's energy and emotions. These are unique gifts. Some people can elicit great empathy and understanding for others. Some people are great listeners. You may not write many of these things down on your CV or resume when you're applying for a job. But these are still very important skills, abilities that you have to acknowledge. It's very important to acknowledge this. Yeah? So skills, ability, character. How do you show character, or how do you recognize character? look at how you behaved, especially in difficult times. How do you react and respond to failure? How do you react and respond to disappointment? How disciplined are you? These are all signs of character. Yeah. Some people are fantastic that even when things don't go their way, they can very quickly get over it. I know some people, when they're treated badly, okay, at that time they feel bad, but they drop it very fast. They don't hold on to grudges. Where there are some people, they hold on to grudges. They remember things 25 years ago when I came to your house for dinner. Yeah? And I put that second serving, yeah, of curry on my plate. And you looked and you said, oh, even more you're going to have. And in front of that whole dining table of 20 guests, you made fun of the amount of sabji that I ate. I have not let go of that. I'm just telling you. Huh? 25 years ago. Ayyo. Some people, they don't even know that they're being insulted at the time. This is also a masterful stroke. While people are saying, wow. I know one man, Guruji tells a joke. Huh? One man went to work and his boss caught him sleeping on the job. And he said, hey, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm so tired. I've been sleeping actually. Huh? And he said, what happened at home? He said, oh, very difficult situation. Huh? So I've been sleeping here and he goes, you sleep in both places? Your house and at work? How much sleep do you need? This way. Some people get insulted, they don't even know they're being insulted. That's also a great thing. So, here we must think very broadly of different aspects when we talk about character. But you know, how we handle crisis, how we handle failure, how we handle disappointment from other people. All this is indicative of character. And even how you conduct yourself when you're trying to strive and achieve your goals. Are you disciplined in what you do? Are you determined in what you do? Are you persistent in what you do? All these are signs of character. We have to acknowledge these things. It's very important. Yeah? Now, as we start acknowledging these things, we also go from low self-esteem to now rising up. Our low self-esteem now becomes higher and we get to a neutral mode where I don't feel bad about myself. And when you have this neutral mode, then when you look back at your past mistakes, all of a sudden you are able to view them objectively without a sense of pain. You still recognize it's a mistake. You still recognize that there was a better choice or decision to make. But you realize one thing honestly, that at that time in your life, with the knowledge you had and the skill you had, that was probably the best decision you could have made. Yeah? Again, I'll say that again. That at that time in your life, with the knowledge you had and the skill you had, it was the best decision you could make. And also the level of desire you had at that time. There might have been very rajasic desires at that time, and therefore those rajasic desires, they ended up manipulating your decision. And therefore you made a decision which now you look back and say, I wouldn't do that again. Yeah? If I had a chance to do it over again, I wouldn't do that. But we have to acknowledge that at that point in time, we had limited skill, limited knowledge, and we were under the influence of particular desires. That's why when I look, now with the pandemic and lockdown, I always feel the one population that I feel the most for is the youth, actually. because I always feel that they're the ones that will find it very difficult because they have no capacity or very limited capacity to be able to connect with their friends. And for them at that stage in life, friends are everything. Yeah. Little children are very happy sitting at home with mum and dad. Middle-aged people are also happy to sit at home with Chunu and Munnu. But for youth, there's neither that much enjoyment sitting with your parents. Yeah. And you're desperate to go, or your siblings, and you're desperate to go meet people, and you're not allowed to go meet them. So there's a lot of restlessness. There's a lot of wanting to do things. And I'm meeting and I'm talking to a lot of youth. And they're all telling me, we can't sit still, Swamiji. Sitting still is very hard. I must have something to do all the time. And I look at it, and sometimes, I'm thinking from my standpoint, I'm like, why can't you just read a book? And then this person said, I hate reading. If I have to learn anything, I have to watch a movie to learn it. I said, okay, you have to watch a movie. Yeah. But then I look back when I was young, and yes, I can say that in past tense, no longer young anymore. So I look back when I was young, and I said exactly the same thing. Every weekend it was out and about meeting friends, playing sports, going and exploring different places. That's what we were doing. And so at that stage in life, there was such a strong desire to connect with people, to go out and explore the world. And therefore, based on that desire, we acted in a certain way. We made certain decisions. And now when we look back at it, we might sit there and say, oh, you know what? When I was younger, maybe I should have studied the Gita more. Maybe I should have become more spiritual. Why am I only learning about this at 40 and 45? When things are difficult. I should have been at 18 studying the Gita. Then maybe I would have gone to the Brahmachari course. Maybe I would have become a Swami. Life could have become so different. That's not going to happen. Because at that stage in life, with the knowledge we have, interests we had, and skill we had, we couldn't make those decisions. You can't make a 45-year-old decision when you're 20. You can't make a 65-year-old decision at the age of 40 because you don't have that knowledge or skill. You don't have that experience or wisdom. And so when we learn to acknowledge our current level of skill and ability, we also have to recognize that in the past we had much less of this. And because we had much less of this, it means the decisions I made in the past were based on a much more limited ability and skill. Therefore, they weren't necessarily terrible decisions. They weren't necessarily sinful decisions. They were just decisions that were the product of a person with such knowledge and skill. They were products. Yeah. So in this way, as we start developing more respect for ourselves, we can overcome this feeling of regret and guilt. Okay. Other methods to now move forward with greater self-respect. There are other techniques. One we said, recognize your current skill, ability, and character. But the other one is also to be mindful of language which is called self-deprecating. A lot of us do slip in this language into conversation. It's called self-deprecating, is language where you put yourself down. Yeah. We all do this, we all have a habit, and it's all connected to certain insecurities we feel about ourselves. Yeah. So some people, if they feel that, you know what, I've never really been in shape, I've always been a little bit rounder than the rest, what I might say a bit more huggable than everyone else in the room, then we sit there and we will make little jokes about our own weight, our own eating, our own lifestyle, which kind of ends up putting ourselves down. Even when others are not even thinking in that direction. There was once a famous comedian, and he was quite he was overweight, and his whole performance used to be about being overweight. And no one realized actually this man had tremendous depression, and he eventually committed suicide actually. And when they did an analysis, when they really psychologically analyzed him, they said one of the things, he had a very high level of self-deprecation in his performance. So in the act and performance that he did, he was always making fun of fat people because he felt, I have the right to do that. I am a fat person. And what he was doing, it was invariably building a very low sense of self-esteem, because he kept thinking that I'm a lot lower and worse than I am. Some people feel that they're not very intelligent, so they keep on making fun of their intelligence and say, I'm a bit of a buddu, I'm a bit of a lallu, or I've got a bad memory, or I can never remember these things, or I'm terrible with numbers, I'm terrible with names, I'm terrible with faces. We make up all the excuses and we keep on using them again and again, and these become self-fulfilled prophecies. Because when I keep on saying I'm bad with names, so excuse me, I don't know who you are. Yeah, even though I see you every week at the ashram, and I met you 3 times and we've talked, but I'm terrible with names. As you keep on saying things like that, you keep ingraining the thought pattern that I am bad at this. And as you keep on repeating that thought, I am bad at this, you remain bad at it because you remain convinced of it. Never forget, whatever you connect I am to, the thought I am, whatever you connect to it is a very dangerous thing, because it's directly connected to your self-esteem. So when you say I am bad at something, you are directly affecting your self-esteem. That's why I've got to be very cautious about it. Yeah? I'm not very emotional person. Yeah? And then you'll always feel, I wish I was more loving. I wish I was kinder. I wish I was more compassionate. So if you keep on using the language, I'm not very emotional, you'll find it hard to tap into emotion. Because you are creating and fortifying that thought and that thought yourself. Yeah? Like even in the spiritual field, a lot of people say, I'll never get moksha, not in this life, Swamiji. I'm just setting up for the next one. Yeah? This life, forget about it, Swamiji. That one's only for you Swamis to get moksha. For the rest of us, we have to pay bills, Swamiji. We have to raise children, Swamiji. We'll never get there, Swamiji. Huh? So if I keep on saying I am not fit for moksha, you remain unfit for moksha. Yeah? Whatever that I am is connected to is very powerful. So you've got to be very cautious of what's called self-deprecating language. All of us do use it in some field in our life. And it'll be interesting exercise to pick that up, to see where we keep on putting ourselves down. Yeah? I'm always late for things. I'm always disorganized. Various methods that it comes up. So avoid that. Yeah? Avoid that. The other thing is, as we are seeking to grow and improve ourselves, what often happens is we set goals. And when we set goals for ourselves, goals work in 2 ways. Goals can work to either boost your confidence, but goals can actually defeat and destroy confidence as well. Yeah. And how do goals defeat confidence? When you fail to achieve the goal. Yeah. And this is something we have to be cautious about. In the field of spirituality, goal setting has got a very different purpose. When we set goals, and especially I'm talking about external goals, the purpose is not in the achievement of the goal. The purpose is in striving and growing more than what you are now. It's not actually to achieve the goal. It is to move away from my current situation towards a higher plane of living. So let's say that my current level of discipline is here, and I set this really high goal. That I say I'm going to take a 30-day challenge, and my 30-day challenge is to have no sweets for 30 days. Okay? Now currently I'm a 2 times a day sweet person. That's scheduled. There's a lot of unscheduled sweets that end up in my mouth without me knowing how they even got there. But as I walk past and someone's left a few M&Ms in a bowl, they end up in my mouth. And when someone's left half Kaju Katli, and I look at that Pavam Kaju Katli and I say, no one should leave half a Kaju Katli, I will finish that off. These are unscheduled sweets that enter into my mouth. So currently I'm 2, 2.5, 3, maybe 4, who knows, 5. Yeah, a day. I stopped tracking because I feel so terrible about myself. So now I go 30-day challenge. My 30-day challenge is no sweets for 30 days. Oh, big challenge. Yeah. Now when you put down such a challenge, what invariably happens is that now people have invited us to their house because, lockdown, we're allowed to visit people. So we went there, and then someone said, I cooked this cake. And I cooked it thinking of you because you love eating cake the whole time. Every time I see you, there's a cake in your mouth. Therefore, I was thinking of you and I want to make this. So then they made this cake with so much love and so much affection, thinking of me. And all these feelings of gratitude came towards you and your bitterness towards them went away. And then you thought, I better eat that cake. So you ate that cake. Now, when you eat that cake, what happened? This happened on day 7. So now all of a sudden on day 7, 30-day program is looking shaky. Yeah, it's taking a hit. The 30-day program is taking a hit. Yeah. So you then feel bad about day 7 breaking it. So you continue to break it on day 8 and 9 because you need the sweet to overcome the guilt. So then now 7, 8, and 9 gone. You then get yourself together. And now back on day 10, you're at it. And you're working hard, and you work hard for another 5 days. Another 5 days, someone else comes to your house and the same thing takes place. Yeah? And again, you go down. And when you track the whole thing, out of 30 days, you kind of find out, I made about 15. 15. Now, when you put this down on paper, what did you achieve? I achieved 15 out of 30. Now, when you look at 15 out of 30 from a mathematical point of view, this is really quite embarrassing, and for many people it's unacceptable. Although technically a pass, 50%, it depends on which part of the country you're from. For some people, 50% is not even a pass. For some people, 30% is a pass. For some people, 70% is a pass. But 50%, you look at that, how do you feel? You feel completely defeated, is it not? I tried something and I couldn't even do it. I only got 15 out of 30. Now we're using the wrong measuring stick. We are measuring ourselves from here. So when we measure ourselves from the end goal, I started here and I got to there. But what's happened? There's a deficit. And so we keep on measuring ourselves according to the deficit. And this is what brings down our self-esteem. And really in spirituality, you're not supposed to measure yourself from the deficit. You're supposed to measure yourself from the gain. And if you look at it now, in the last 30 days, what have you gained? You gained 15 days where you didn't eat a sweet. That's a practice of discipline for over 2 weeks. That's a change in your behavior, change in your food, change in your diet for 15 days. That's the gain. The deficit is also 15 days. But when you keep on measuring yourself from deficit, your self-esteem goes down, your self-respect goes down. When you measure yourself from the gain, your self-respect goes up. And all of a sudden you start thinking, okay, this month, 15 out of 30. Next month, we'll try it again. Let's see if we can better 15. Yeah. And so we have to keep focusing on the gain rather than the deficit. And that's why in the shastra, this is how shastra is designed. Shastra is never designed in such a way that we are actually going to achieve the goals that are written in the shastras. Okay? And that's why we study, when we study why. Who are the heroes that the shastra puts in front of us? They put the perfect man and woman. And who's a perfect man and woman? Shri Ram, Sita ji. And you put these two icons, they should not even fit in the camera. They have to be beyond the camera. You put these two icons and ideals in front of us. And then we try to live our life. And we think about, wow, how Shri Ram stuck to the truth. How he stuck to the principle in spite of losing everything. He refused to tell a lie. He refused to blame his father. He refused to blame Kaikai. I'm blaming my child because they left the Kaju Katli out and that screwed up my entire diet. I'm so quick to blame everyone. I blame people in the room, people not in the room. I blame various devatas that exist. I blame Shani and the Sunny that is somewhere else. I'm blaming planets and various other asteroids which have got nothing to do with my life. But I will find everyone to blame. Now I look at Sri Ram, he blames no one. The direct cause of his problems in life, even to her, he did not blame Kaikai. So when I look at his standard and I look at my standard, oh, you're miserable. Quite miserable. Yeah. So every time I try to live like Shri Ram or Sita ji, so beautiful and demure, followed her husband by walking behind him and had so much respect for the husband she wouldn't even stand on his footprints. She walked in such a way that she would not walk on his footprints. I will not even walk behind my husband. I walk in front of him. And I will stand on his feet if I have to, because I really don't think the man knows what he's talking about. I stand on his feet, on his head, on his shoulders. I am on top of him the entire time because I don't think he knows what he's doing. So when I look at my standard of being Sita and Sita, I say, oh my God, I've got a long way to go. And I feel so mean about myself. Again, measuring from deficit. Shastra set such a perfect ideal of Sri Ram and Sita just so that we start moving away from our current situation. We may never achieve Sri Ram and Sita, but if we move away from where we are today, you have grown and you have gained in life. You are fulfilling your spiritual journey. But if you measure your success according to the end goal, we may always feel a little bit short. Even if you read Stita Prajna Lakshana, Prajahati yada kaman sarvam partha manogatan. The first characteristic, everyone should fall into depression. Why? What's the first characteristics? One who has given up all desires. How is this possible? Give up all desires? Right now I'm looking out the window thinking I want to go for a walk. Is that a desire? If I have a desire to go outside, now am I prajahati yada kaman? I've already failed the first test of Stita Prajna. Ayyo, very depressing. Yeah? They set such a bar which is so high. It is just to motivate us from getting off our current situation. Therefore, measure your progress in life according to your gain and not necessarily your deficit. You can still set high goals. You can still set impossible achievements. But always look at your gain and not your deficit. Okay? This is again how you boost self-respect. And in another, again, more practical element of self-respect is if we want to enhance our self-respect, then it's very important that we behave in a respectful manner. Start behaving in a respectful manner, which means my conduct, my language. Language is a very important aspect. Many times our conduct is fine. We are not acting and behaving like animals. We are acting and behaving. We're very good at a certain level of pretension that we know how to put on. But sometimes language can really betray or expose or show our inner thoughts and feelings. And so some language which is very crude, vulgar language, what do you call it, swearing, all these type of things. If when I get angry, I have to swear, then you know what? People around me also don't have respect for such an individual. You can't even control your tongue. If you can't control your tongue, how are you going to control your behavior and your thoughts? Yeah? So as we start behaving more respectfully, then you will find others around you will start behaving in front of you very differently. If you're a person who never swears, you will find that people, when they enter into your presence, they also won't swear. Their behavior will change. If you're a person if you're very disciplined with time, that means you're always on time. You'll find the people around you, when they come to meet you, they also come on time. Because they know this person is always timely. Yeah? If you're a person who's very measured with your speech and you don't just blurt out the first thought that comes to your mind or first feeling that comes to your mind, you will find that others around you will also do that. But if I'm a very explosive personality, that anything that comes to my head, I feel I have the need to express it. Why? Freedom of expression. We should be able to say and do whatever we want. Well, when you say and do whatever you want, you're going to find the people around you will do the same thing, which means they may insult you at the same time. They may criticize you at the same time because they feel they have the same rights. And then we turn around and say, I don't deserve to be treated like this. I had heard a statement once. We teach others how to treat us by our own behavior. We teach others how to treat us through our own behavior. So when our behavior is very indisciplined, very insensitive, doesn't care about others, inconsiderate, then others around us also feel, towards this person you don't need to be so considerate. Towards this person you don't need to watch your language. Towards this person you can come half an hour late because they're always late for everything anyway. And that's when we decide, why do people treat me so badly? And why do they treat others so well? Why that person is so great? Because they watch their language, they watch their speech. If they commit to something, they fulfill it. Yeah. So this is the last aspect we can talk about in terms of self-respect, that start acting respectfully and you will see people around you treat you respectfully. And that also helps you to develop your own sense of self-respect. This is an indirect method of developing self-respect, okay? So with these 4 factors or 5 factors that I've now given you, in terms of 1, recognizing talent, skills, and character. 2, stopping or avoiding self-deprecating language. 3, focusing on your gain, not your deficit. And 4, behaving respectfully. In these methods, you can now develop more self-respect. As you develop more self-respect, it's easier to look into your past without pain. You can look into your past without pain and you can learn from it and you can recognize that at that stage in life, I acted to the best of my ability and knowledge and that's what I did. And this way you can let go of guilt and you can let go of regret. Okay? So that's how R and R are connected. Regret and respect. Okay? Next one, A was apathy, A was for aspiration. Yeah? Aspiration means here goal. Okay? Aspiration is not the thing coughing out of your lungs. Okay? That's also called an aspiration. So, why do we become apathetic? Apathetic becomes lazy, disinterested. Yeah? We all have certain goals that we want to achieve, but they end up being put on the back burners. Yeah? Now, there are reasons why this takes place. Sometimes the goals we want to achieve are long-term and they don't have immediate relevance. So there are some goals which don't have immediate relevance. Therefore, they get shelved. They're things that I'm thinking about doing, but at this point in life, it's not really practical. And it's not really priority, I should say. Priority, not practical. Yeah? So there are an element of goals that we set which are not top priority at this stage, and therefore we shelve them. Now that's okay. But what we have to understand is when situations do change, you have to pull those aspirations off the shelf and now put them in front of you and say, now this is what I'm going to work for. Why? The other 3 things that were in front of me, completed, finished, done. My stage in life, changing. I am no longer grahastha, now I am vanaprastha, I am no longer brahmachari, I am grahastha. The goals have to keep changing with your stages in life. Yeah? So sometimes you've got to get those goals off the shelf and now put them in front of you. Yeah? So that's one of the reasons why we are apathetic. The other reason we're apathetic is the goals are very unclear. We are not clear about what exactly do we want to achieve or become. So when the goals lack clarity, you also lack motivation. Third element. Sometimes there's a goal there, but we don't know how to start it or we need support. Yeah? So we feel there's no support at that time. Or we're not even looking for support. That's one of the issues, is that we're not looking for support. And that support has to come in the form largely of a teacher, a guide. Yeah? In nearly every field of life, you need a coach. To do anything. Now, when I go for a walk now, there are people out there that they're personal trainers. You know the personal trainers? And the personal trainers just sit there and they tell you, now do 10 push-ups. And the man knows how to do push-ups. We need someone there that, come on, motivate you, do the tempo. And then after that, what am I supposed to do? Okay, now do squats, 20 squats. And now do sit-ups. You need a coach. And that man said, I have designed this program for your body type and your goals. He's the coach. Yeah. On YouTube, they've got coaching videos on how to jog. I had no idea that you have to learn how to jog. There's a YouTube video on how to jog. I thought that's interesting. That means there's videos on how to do anything and everything. People nowadays are all learning how to cook now. So cooking is a big thing. Everyone has learned how to cook. So, of course, we should have people teaching it. So, one of the reasons we become apathetic is because we don't seek a teacher. And the other reason we're apathetic is sometimes we're not convinced we can actually achieve this. Self-doubt. Okay? So here, let's focus on now going from apathy towards aspiration. Means being driven, being motivated. So how do I motivate myself? I think the first thing you have to look into is the goal. We have to look into the goal and find out, what do you want to achieve? That's the main thing. Even if you go meet people, like you meet therapists and you meet even health physicians and practitioners, or you want to learn a language, any teacher you meet, if they don't ask you the question, what are your goals? You should be a bit wary. You should have goals in everything. So say you want to learn a language, even the language teacher should ask you, what's your goals for learning this language? What do you want to use it for? Because do you want to use it for conversation? Do you want to use it to give a talk? Do you want it to study literature? There are so many different ways, even in language, to be learned. Because learning language to study literature is very different to learning language for conversation. Yeah? And are you learning it just to travel? Because if you're learning it to travel, then the type of conversations that we're going to feed you are going to be very different. So anyone you meet, even when you go to get that teacher, one of the things you have to be clear about is, what do I want to achieve? So try to find clarity with the goal. Give it more specifications. I want to learn this language for this person, for this purpose by this time. Yeah. In management, they call this a SMART goal. It's called SMART, S-M-A-R-T. And I mean specific, measurable. Now I think the A stands for achievable, but I don't know if it's achievable or accountable. Sometimes they change that. Realistic and time-bound. So when we've got these vague plans that have been sitting on the shelf, now you've got to take those vague plans and you've got to start making them more specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-bound. Yeah? As you start adding these elements to the goal, all of them will start motivating you. Yeah? That you realize it's not so vague. Yeah? Say I want to improve my health. Improving my health is vague. Extremely vague goal. Or I want to get into exercise. Extremely vague. A person who says I want to get into exercise, get fit, very vague. Not much will happen. But I want to say I want to improve my health. Then you say cardiovascular health, strength, flexibility, because even health got many different aspects. So if I want to do cardiovascular, you don't need to go to a gym and lift weights. You might think, okay, cardiovascular then means I want to focus on aerobic exercise. So swimming, jogging, running, yeah? High intensity, what do they call it? Low impact type of stuff. Yeah? All these things. And you can find specific exercises for that. So it's about being clear about that goal. Try to give it more specifications and qualifications. Exactly what do you want out of it? So go from vague to specific. Yeah? That's one way to get more motivated. The second thing is, when you've got a very specific type of goal, go hunt teachers. Go look for teachers. Put it out there. Put it on your Facebook page. Currently looking to lose 5 kilograms in the next month. Who can help me? Just throw it out there. And everyone will come back with various methods. And some of them will be, you don't need to do anything. I'll teach you how to lose 5 kilograms without doing anything. Just first send me $250 to my, my account, and then I'll show you how you, by doing nothing, you can lose those 5 kilograms. Huh? The first thing, change the way you dress, because your clothes you wear are too heavy. So once you change that, you can drop already 3 kilograms just by changing a thick jumper to a thin jumper. Wear a t-shirt. There you go. Didn't do anything. So people got all different gimmicks will be there. Some people will say sugar-free diet. Some will say intermittent diets. Some will say dieting doesn't work. Some will say exercise. Either way, ideas are now coming. Something's happening. Yeah? So send it out to the universe. When you've got a goal, send it out to the universe. This is what I want to achieve. And all of a sudden the universe will reply. And don't know when, don't know how, and don't know whom, but it will reply. I've been talking about a goal that I've had for years, and just now someone replied to me 2 weeks ago and said, Swamiji, I can help you with this now. Do you want to start a class every week and I'll help you learn this? And I said, okay, wonderful. It came up like that. Another teacher I wanted to learn from, I recently approached them and I said, can you teach me one-on-one? He's in India. He said, my health is such that I can't, but he's now said, I'll give you a set of talks which I gave on this topic. And the talks are fantastic. The talks are so good that now through the talks I can learn what I wanted to do, is more advanced type of Sanskrit things. So when you throw it out there, something comes back. Okay? So clarity of goal, and then seeking a teacher. Okay? The other thing is you have to reprioritize your life, because we said that's one of the reasons why goals also get put in the back burner, because at that point in time, 10 years ago, it wasn't a priority. Don't keep it as priority 3 in your life. Eventually move it up. What does happen in life is, like we say, we have priority 1, 2, and 3. And when we're busy with family and all that, we say family, career, and extracurricular. The extracurricular could be spiritual, it could be health. Yeah, learning a language, learning an instrument, learning how to dance, whatever. Learning Vedic chanting. Now what happens is, family, all of a sudden, kids, they're done. They've moved out, they're looking after themselves. You know what happens is, we don't bring the third priority up the list. What we do is we invent another first priority. And we say, oh, I'm so busy. Now I'm looking to buy an investment property for my child. That's keeping me busy. You went and invented another goal which was not aligned to your previous one. So this one, which was important to you, you've kept it number 3. You didn't let it go up the scale. So instead of busying your day with somewhat meaningless tasks, we have to actively change our priorities in life. And pretty much every 10 years, you have to change your priorities in life. Because every 10 years is almost like a massive biological change that goes on in terms of, one, your own biology and psyche, physical and emotional. And if you look at stages in life, every 10 years, something significant is happening in those different stages. Yeah? From 0 to 10, we're very dependent physically upon parents. From 10 to 20, there's burgeoning of physical capacity. Children can do a lot of things for themselves at that time. Yeah? From 20 to 30, there's the push for independence. There's finding a job, finding a partner, settling down and travel. 30 to 40, it's setting up the family. It's getting the mortgage. It's getting the house. It's having the 2 kids. Yeah? And then by 40, you haven't got kids that are infants anymore. You've most likely got kids that are in primary school. And once they've made that transition from being at home to now being in primary school, all of a sudden there's a lot of time that's freed up because you don't have 2 kids that are hovering around you the whole time. Yeah? So then 40 to 50. And then when you start hitting 50, there's another set of changes that start coming. By 50, children are in high school or might even start moving towards university, graduation. And then all of a sudden, family life is kind of really being accomplished and achieved. And that's where a lot of people at the age of 50 get a bit lost, because really what happens is the largest part of their life, which was family and family aspirations, that's kind of finished. We then end up just taking up more work and career. We just take number 2 on the list, which was career, and expand on that. And sometimes we just expand on career, or we look into more investments, more financial security, or financial, extension. But the things that we had an idea of doing when we were 40, they get shelved and they don't necessarily get put out on the table when we're 50. And then by 60, we've got to actively look. If you're a spiritual person, you have to actively look to now kind of create that healthy distance from family life where you're not even actively involved, become passively involved. And you have to actively move towards a more spiritually centered journey in life. Yeah? You have to look to change lifestyle, downsize, simplify, change diet. All these things have to start happening post 50. And so every 10 years in life, we have to reevaluate our priorities actively. Write them down on a piece of paper, and you've got to start shifting those things around. And they really shouldn't be the same as the last decade. They should be different. Yeah? And when you start doing this, you start realizing that the goal that I kept on the shelf for 10 years now has to come off the shelf, and I have to now start working for it. I have to start incorporating this into my daily life. Previously, it was once a week listening to a lecture or satsang, and now you might say, every day I've got to listen to a satsang. Every day I've got to chant a verse from the Gita. Every day, I've got to spend 15 minutes on Sanskrit. You know, this is what I'm giving from a spiritual point of view. Yeah? Up until 40, you might feel I don't need to do any exercise. But now from 40, you might say, every day I've got to make sure I do a 5 to 7 kilometer walk. I've got to get my 10,000 steps in. Yeah? I've now got to start working on flexibility because after 40, the body starts getting very stiff. So I've got to take up yoga. I've got to take up stretches. And this now has to become part of my daily lifestyle routine. Yeah? So as you start reorganizing your priorities, then all of a sudden this goal becomes more important. And as it becomes more important, it's easier to make it clearer. What exactly do you want to achieve? Then when you make it clearer, then you start sending your signal out into the world and you can get help and support from various teachers. In this way, you can take apathy and apathy can turn into aspiration. Okay? So with that, this is how you convert that. And the last one that we looked at there is going from fear towards faith. And that largely we have covered already in the talk on managing anxiety. Yeah? So I think that was given on Saturday itself on these classes, but otherwise it's on YouTube. So I'm not going to go too much into that because actually we have explored that already. And it will come up again when we talk about Shraddha. We'll take up Shraddha as one of the future qualities in order to develop. Okay? So with this, you can see how now the negative graph can turn into a positive graph.